Hey guys, this is Anon with some really nice FV215b 183 gameplay for you today. We're jumping right into it. There's a little bit of, let's say, not nice words said by the red team when we got into this battle, so I decided just to cut that out because no one needs to see it. I am here on Canal with Howitzer DD, and I'm instantly going into kind of an Overwatch situation here because my team has stayed pretty nice to the right, so I'm trying to pick off anything that's working their way up to him. You can see I got that really nice early shot in on the 4202, and now I'm waiting for the Jagdpanzer to give me enough of his side to get a big roll in. I roll right back off the back of that hill because I was worried about being spotted and taking a couple shots because there were tanks I couldn't see yet. Luckily I wasn't spotted. He may not have 100% crew yet, but I didn't want to risk it. Plus, with such the reload time on this, I knew I had time to get back up. So I'm able to go ahead and get that next shot in and finish him off, and now that I have a better idea of where all the tanks are, I don't have the fear of getting sniped and taking damage when I don't need it. So I'm going to go ahead and roll forward because I can see the red kind of on the back side of my team pushing through, and I'm hoping to be able to get some shots in and instantly kind of zooming in for it. But where they are is going to be a difficult shot. I'm just hoping to get lucky and hope one rolls forward really far, which the IS-4 does, but I'm not able to get that shot in. And I don't want to waste time by sitting right here because those are going to be really kind of Hail Marys with the bad dispersion that this tank has, and it would just be a waste of time to sit and ammunition to sit back and take those shots. So I'm going to push the backside here a little bit because everything is so contained and have the ability to really see what's sitting in there, except for the one tank kind of running to my left. I peek up at the IS-7 because I want to push him back on the hill and instead turn and help my teammates, which luckily he does. He gets a little nervous with it, so I'm able to swing around and start working on these guys like that, put in the nice perfect shot there. Those are shots that occasionally this tank is going to troll you, but when it's singing and you can just hit everything. So always going to be rolling back while you reload. I go ahead and pop adrenaline because there's multiple tanks there and the situation's starting to get a little bit hairy. I'm greedy with the Hesh, which I probably didn't need to be, but I run a loadout of 7 and 5, and sometimes in these games when you're firing a lot of shells, it's easy to run out of AP if they're not giving you your side. So in some ways that was conserving, and then obviously trying to bait that shot out, which I was a little bit lucky that didn't hit me, but happy nonetheless. So really good example here so far, really just trying to farm damage. The more you can keep the gun of this tank in the game, the more it changes it. I mean, there's not a lot that averages these kind of rolls in it. I mean, it just absolutely changes things, and it lets you trade shots in ways other tanks can't too. Like that one right there, I had full health, so I have no problem taking the shot from the IS-4 to basically delete him down within a one shot from most tanks. This is another example, so I'm down to 1 AP round, so I switched to Hesh even though it's a really expensive round, but I don't want to waste the AP shell because the HE is not going to be able to do a whole lot of damage to this IS-7 that's left, whereas an AP round, if I get it to go through, is a guaranteed one-shot kill, and so I wanted to be able to conserve that to go on to take my shot on him here. Ammo management is extremely important on this tank. If you follow the stream at all, you know I have at least one heartbreak. It's actually, I think, the most damage I've ever done in a game where I ran out of ammunition. So if you're going to fire a lot of shells, which hopefully you are, and trying to make sure you're in good position for the late games, make sure you're kind of monitoring that, and don't be afraid to fire a Hesh shell on low damage tanks if you need to kind of later on. So that game I kind of rolled through pretty easily. We're going to move on to a much more difficult situation where I'm running solo. This tank's always a little bit of a gamble to run solo because it definitely needs some support, and it struggles at times on maps like this where there really aren't good hills to snipe down on because it has really bad gun depression. So unless you can be on kind of even ground or have a nice Overwatch kind of position, it can be really difficult to work some of these angles and get shots in without taking a lot of damage. So that's just something that you have to monitor, and one of the things that makes this tank sometimes pretty difficult and control a lot of people. So I pop up on this little hill just because that 54 has pushed so hard, and it gives me just a little bit of elevation to be able to sneak that shot in, and that's threading the needle. That is not going to happen very often, and I will fully admit that, especially with Hash to do that much damage, but I'll take it nonetheless, and it was just kind of about putting yourself in the situation to have a chance at that shot. So I'm letting myself reload and kind of hoping they push forward enough to give me a chance to sneak a shell in, but with them kind of all settling down behind those behind the rock formations, I know from this position I'm not going to be able to get a shot in. But the good news is that most of these tanks are pretty forward, so I don't have to worry about a lot of flankers. That tortoise popping up late is a good example of kind of spotting that last one, and I'm trying to get that shell in there. Unfortunately, not a good roll with the Hash, but a good one to take, because that would have pretty much ended his day if I'd have gotten it to go through. So instead I can keep pushing forward and just kind of make that mental note of where the tortoise is, but instead I'm trying to roll up just high enough here to get some shots into these more dangerous tanks. And that's what's nice about gun elevation. It can essentially act as gun depression for you. So I'm rolling backwards up this hill, which points my gun down, and then can use the elevation to put it to bring the gun back up to where I need. So you essentially get some artificial gun depression. You have to be a little more careful because you're usually more exposed, but it's a good way to manufacture that in tanks that can't otherwise do it. The Grill is a good example of another tank that can do that really well. So, alright, so now we're in a pretty difficult situation. 3 versus 5, but one tank is on the other side of the map, so I'm pretty sure this is going to turn into kind of a tough spot, but you just kind of have to keep working, especially now that it's 2 versus 4. And there's some big guns left in here, so that's why you just kind of have to keep working at it. I've gotten some lucky bounces in here, so my damage isn't too bad. Unfortunately, gets my loader there, so now I've really got to push hard because this E5 needs to go. I have to start whittling these guys down, or I'm going to end up in a lot of trouble, because while that was happening, I ended up in a 1 versus 4. This is not a tank that handles these 1 versus situations very well, but luckily several of them are low health, so that's why I'm switching to the Hesh. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to take a shot here, but I want to absolutely make sure he does not get by me, because he will just outload and be able to shred me. So now I'm in the situation that's a little bit better. I know the IS-7's to my right. I know the Tortoise is the other one that's left, and he is to my left and probably going to be coming over the dunes that way. And I don't like having tanks in 2 different directions. I talk about that a lot. So I make the decision to go ahead and push in here with the Hesh loaded, which was the right call because the Tortoise pops up to my left, and I don't want to take shots from him because I'll essentially be a 2-shot. And they could double tap me right here and have it over with. So I need the reload, so I'm going to go ahead and push. I'm down to AP, so I don't remember how much health he had left, honestly, so I don't know if he's a 1-shot or a 2-shot. I assume he's a 1, and turning around to check, that's true. But the Taurus does have some funky angles with it, and if I miss here and can't get by him, it's going to be kind of a difficult comeback at that point to try and get around him and then turn again. So instantly I know I'm going to take the 1-shot, get the full aim, get the guarantee kill, and that's just a rare situation, I think, for that for the FV. It doesn't come back from 1v situations very often, but it's a good example of kind of clutching up with that and making kind of all the terrain and the locations of the tanks work for me. So hopefully you enjoyed kind of another installment of the 183. It's still a favorite tank, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, please follow on YouTube, and don't be afraid to subscribe on the Twitch stream as well.